Welcome to the MotUS Edge, where we celebrate business, primarily youth sports facility management, leadership, and motivation. Co-hosted by Stacy Rowe, Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are here to fill your cup with knowledge, laughter, affirmations, and comfort knowing that you're not alone. You can and will succeed with the MotUS Edge.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the MotUS Edge, where we talk about leadership, motivation, and all things cheerleading and dance biz. I am Stacy Rowe, here with my favorite co-host, Casey Jones, and our guest today is Nelson De Dios, co-owner and creator of the CheerSync app and OC All-Stars. We're going to talk about the growing pains of business and the horror stories of all-star cheer tryouts and team selection. And I am sure that we have plenty of stories between the three of us.
That is for sure one of the toughest times of the year, right around that tryout time. I know Nelson and his team have helped create the CheerSync app, which hopefully gets rid of a lot of people's horror stories. We were able to use that app last year, and we actually used it for our half-year tryouts, and it was a great tool for us. So, Nelson, thanks for working on that. I think it's great for everybody.
Thank you guys for having me again, and I'm excited to be here and share some stories and hopefully help others get rid of those stories.
Absolutely. So share some of your tryout horror stories or tryout challenges over the years. I'm sure there's a couple.
Mine is, a lot of it has to do with just the process of it. I think the biggest one, and that jump-started everything with CheerSync, was sitting in the gym at the end of tryouts after that 4-day process and taking everybody's little tryout papers and laying them across the gym floor. And we probably laid out across 2 different floors, just different papers, and then trying to actually read what the coaches wrote, or finding that some of the athletes didn't have pictures and we didn't know who they were. Or maybe coaches didn't circle what skills the kids have, and then just realizing that we don't know where to place some of these kids because we just didn't have the information. So that's what jump-started CheerSync, and probably my trauma story there.
Yeah. We, that is, not all coaches see things the same way, and some coaches are, their specialty may be stunning, whereas another coach's specialty may be tumbling. So we noticed in our tryouts that oftentimes, we would have upwards of 20 different people judging tryouts. And once again, like I said, not everybody sees things the same way. So one person may be giving someone a near perfect score on their tumbling. Then they make this team and they may not have been put in the right space because we were operating off what that person saw. So I think it's imperative to have those videos, and something that the coaches, as they're choosing their teams or whoever's picking the teams, can reference back. I know CheerSync does that. We were actually doing that prior to CheerSync to make sure that we could refer back to the videos. And then another great part about having those videos is when you have to have those difficult conversations with parents, because sometimes people I don't understand why my daughter didn't make level 3 this year. And then you're able to pull up a video and show them. And that's been helpful to a lot of our directors in having those parent meetings, helpful to me, and talking parents through and showing them, because sometimes the parents are shocked when they see those videos.
Well, I want to take a step back too for any of our listeners out here that aren't coaches, that don't understand. It doesn't matter if you have 50 kids at tryouts, or you have 150 kids, or you have 1,050 kids. You have to know the age grid and what age groups kids can be in which places. You have to know the amount of skills that are required to be on each team. So, for example, if you need to throw 16 back tucks on a 23-member team, or 24-member team, you have to have that many people that have that skill. But you want to also have some extra so that you've got some cushion and some wiggle room. You've got to have, certain number of bases, certain number of flyers, certain number of back spots. And so you're trying to it's like a chess game, basically, trying to move all of these pieces around in into the right place, then you also have to think about the dynamics of the team and the experience of the team and the age of the team. And you might have a newer team. And so you're going to have some maybe younger kids or some greener kids that are learning on that team. And you want to make sure that your more experienced athletes are put on a different team so that they're not having a bad experience with these newer ones. Or maybe it's a year that you're trying to keep them together so that those more experienced kids are helping the less experienced kids. And it's always like, it's mind blowing the amount of things that you've got to know and juggle to put your teams together and to do all of that in such a way where, like Nelson said, you've got all these pieces of paper and you're trying to move everything around. I mean, I know one year we left a kid completely off the list. I don't know how we missed her.
I was about to ask you guys that question. Has anybody ever left somebody off?
100%. And I have, since that year, I had gotten into the habit of telling every single parent that came to the meetings and in every single email that I sent, you will be contacted regardless of what team you make. If you make a team, don't make a team, whatever, like everyone will be contacted. So if you do not get any kind of communication from us after the team selection process is finished, please reach out because it's a mistake. And I mean, that has happened. We actually put a girl, to your point, Nelson, you were talking about like you didn't have pictures and you didn't know. We mixed up 2 kids one time. We didn't know who they were. They were new. This was way back in the day when like taking videos and pictures like wasn't really easy. Like we would have had to take pictures on a camera and have the film developed. It wasn't as simple as it was today. And so we had 2 girls completely mixed up where one was at the time more novice and the other one was more advanced. It was kind of back during the novice, intermediate, advanced days. And so somehow the entire coaching staff had these 2 girls' names flip-flopped and they show up to practice and hear this advanced girl, thank God that she came, you know what I mean? But here she does come and showing up to this, novice practice, like, what am I doing here?
Why am I here?
Yes. And so we were like, oh my gosh, like, how do you have so many kids and there's so many new kids and so many new faces and you don't know them all and you're doing the best you can. And so, thank gosh there is a better way now to do it because it's, it's awful to make those mistakes. It's terrible, but you're human. And, like I said, back then, we didn't even have really great video and picture access to even try to figure it out. It was definitely more memory, girl with pink shoes.
All of this chaos is happening after we've been in all these end of the season events, banquets, and now we've got to do one of the most important parts of the season in such a small amount of time, right? Because these parents, they want to know, okay, what am I going to be paying for? So what team am I on? You have a couple days to tell me what team I'm on before I start giving you all this money. So it's a lot of chaos in a short amount of time that we all have to kind of sort through.
Agree.
Yeah, and you're building a small community. Like that's the way I'm going to build a small community of athletes and coaches, and they have to work together and hopefully thrive together for an entire year. And that's something, we've realized that I think we first figured that out on the coaching side because sometimes coaching dynamics, you hope that everybody works perfectly together, but it doesn't always happen. But then, we used to have an attitude of, just suck it up. You're together a couple hours a week. Well, you're together a couple hours a week for an entire year. So that's something that's hard to suck up. So it is vitally important that we get these tryouts right. I used to say, and I still believe this to an extent, your season is won or lost at tryouts. You can pick the team so poorly that it will affect, their performance for an entire year. So, I was laughing at Stacy, we've left out kids. I remember one year we left out 3 kids and literally we used to spread out the papers upstairs and we still do some of that, but literally three packets slid underneath the couch, for an entire weekend. And they lived underneath the couch and these kids didn't get announced. And even though we had, systems in place to check that, I remember that. And then I will never forget this. I won't say last names, but we had 2 athletes named London, which is a unique name. But they were the same age, basically kind of similar levels, but we mixed the Londons up one year. And then, and it really upset one of the moms because she was like, she was upset because how do you not know my daughter? And we followed that up by doing the exact same thing the next year. So
oh my gosh.
We mixed the Londons up. The exact same thing happened 1 year later. So that's pretty crazy.
That's unfortunate. We did not have any tryout issues, but we had 2 Brandon Wallaces, first and last name, the same. Which was pretty crazy, and they were not related at all. And we never had any tryout mix-ups with them, but I always thought it was crazy that first and last name. But Nelson, you were talking about the time frame too, and I think that's something that is important as well, because the tryout process is so difficult for everyone, so we obviously know it from our perspective, and we want to get it right, and we're trying to put together the best teams to create success for the season and all of those things. And the coaches, feel stressed and pressure to do all of that. But the kids and the parents, I've been on the parent side of it, not necessarily for cheerleading, but I've been on the parent side of a tryout and hoping that your kid makes the team that they want and all the things. And, it's difficult for the parents and the kids too. So it's important, that a lot of gyms do drag it out, and they feel like that's, the best way to go about doing it. And I'm not saying that is the best way or it's the worst way. I don't know, but I can tell you from a parent and an athlete standpoint as well, the longer it goes, the more stressful that it also becomes. And so I think too, that having a good, swift, easy process makes it a little bit easier for everyone as well, because you want the tryout process to be as welcoming and smooth as possible for the athlete and the coach, which I know that that's like kind of an oxymoron and almost impossible to do, because there's going to be some level of stress. You're trying out for something and you have nerves about it. You want to make the team or whatever you want to do.
It should be competitive.
Right. Mm-hmm. But to drag that on, for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, it's like, oh, those poor kids.
Yeah, Nelson, when you guys pick a team, is that final? Do you have a period? Do you level? What do you guys do as far as that?
Generally, it's final. It's pretty rare for us to move an athlete after, especially now that we're able to make these decisions much more informed. It's rare for us to move an athlete after they've been placed. I can't even think of the past couple of years of when we've done that. But Stacy, going back to your point about gyms that make that process a little bit longer and stretch it out through weeks or even months, that seems crazy to me, because having been an owner myself, I know that those bills still have to be paid. And you are relying on those families to start paying their tuition right away. And if I'm a parent and you're not telling me what team my kid is on, I don't see why I'm going to be paying, X amount of dollars for my kid to kind of be in limbo. So, yeah, it seems crazy to me for gyms to stretch that out, but I understand why. Just from a parent's perspective, I don't know if I could get on board with all that.
We have a couple of our locations that do what they'll spend a month doing level practices. So you come in, you try out. Hey, we're considering you for level 3, and here's when level 3 practice is. And they do that for about a month. And then some kids may be like, hey, we're considering you for level 2 and level 3, and they come in. So we watched a couple of our locations do that, and they've done it successfully. And we tried it, and oh my goodness, it was horrible. It was absolutely hard, because literally you would have kids that would have a full-on meltdown if you were like, hey, let's say they were in that flux of level 3, level 2, and it was like, hey, go over here on this level 2 stunt group right here and try this stunt for a second. Just complete, you would see it on their face, just complete like meltdown. Oh my gosh, they're clearly putting me over here on level 2 and I wanted to be on level 3 when we clearly were not. We were just literally trying some different things. So it did not work for us. It also was tough for our coaches, because literally our coaches were trying to corral their team. Hey, I see, here's all the level 3 kids here. I'm coaching level 3. I'm going to go ahead and build my team over here to the side, which was not the intent of what we were doing. So not only was it tough on the kids, it was tough on the coaches, and it didn't work for us. Like I said, I have seen plenty of gyms that have been able to do that and be successful with it. I've also seen gyms that hey, we're going to place our teams right now, and then we're going to finalize our teams at a later date. So you're on the team, you're part of it. We have until August 1 to finalize our team and make roster changes if needed. So you just kind of got to find what works for your program and your culture. But man, that can be stressful. I think it's imperative that you really look at what kind of stress you're putting on the athletes.
I agree. So I think on a different note, we've all been a part of building new businesses, and obviously with the CheerSync app, I'm sure, Nelson, you guys have learned a lot over the last several years and different things on how to make it better. So just tell us a little bit about your growing pains.
The interesting thing for me is when I use CheerSync, I think, man, it's just so simple to use. And then when I talk with the developers, I realize there's so much that happens on the back end, so much that I don't know. It's on our weekly calls, there's always a suggestion that I have that I've heard from a gym owner or another user. And I'm like, well, it wouldn't be great to have this type of feature. And they're always like, yeah, it would sound great, but this is the amount of work that it's going to take to do this actual feature. So that's been part of the growing pains is talking to these owners and hearing their great suggestions and wanting to be able to implement that right away. But then, talking with the developers and realizing it's not going to be an easy process. So
I understand that firsthand. I understand that. And I also understand how even that when they do implement it, it could actually unintendedly break something else. And then you got to go back and fix that.
I don't even begin to understand any of that. That's way above my brain capabilities. But I do understand what you're saying. Heck, we've probably been some of those. Hey, Nelson, if the app did this, then this would be better, And it's not as simple as switching a toggle switch. I'm sure a lot goes into making those changes. And I'm sure it's expensive to make the changes as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. But we've made a good handful of feature upgrades, and then some stuff in the back end that's helped kind of bring CheerSync up another level. But there's still just a ton of things that we definitely want to do for the future.
Well, that's pretty cool. And I've been a part of some things. It's cool to be a part of this and to use it in our program. I remember being on the early side of iClass Pro, and just seeing how far that's come. So I'm sure this will do just the same and continue to grow and evolve as cheerleading grows. So, those are things, some of the challenges that, they're challenges in the future that we don't even know about yet. So
do you have any new big releases coming down the pipeline that you want to share with people or things in the works?
Yeah, we have some things that are already out and definitely some things that are in the works. I would say one of the cool things that we did, this was something that we talked about at the last podcast, and you had talked about kind of setting up parameters for when you create your team so you don't accidentally put somebody on a team that doesn't belong there. And at the time, we didn't have something like that. Now we do. So now let's say if you create a junior level 2 team, right, and you use the USASF age grid, once you create that junior level 2 team, if you add somebody that doesn't fit like the junior age, maybe they're just a senior kid, or if you add somebody that the coaches haven't determined as a level 2 athletes, they're going to get flagged. So you're going to notice right away, okay, hey, this athlete doesn't fit the team. I can kind of take a look and see why, whether they don't fit the ages, or maybe the coaches had them selected as a level 3 athlete or a level 1 athlete. So having that team parameters in there is nice. We've got one coming up really soon for the owners to set coach permissions so that you can have a coach who can do just the tryout and they can create their own teams, but they can't see other people's teams. They can't edit another coach's tryouts. Another cool one.
That's pretty wild. That is absolutely something that would happen at Stingrays. Scott East, who we call Beavis, we used to catch him he would be hiding packets underneath his chair. He used to coach Gray, which was our junior 2 team, and we would Like literally the dude's over there hiding packets underneath his chair. We're like,
these are my kids.
Like, Scott, she's got a full. Like, yeah, I know, but she never cheered before. Like, dude, she's got a, because we pick everything, from the top down, from the highest levels down is how we form our team. So you don't even start choosing level 2 until all the level 3s have been picked. So yeah, Scott would, I'll help you guys. We had to, it was mostly funny. He wasn't trying to, but he would have his pile. And we're like, you don't get to make that pile yet, dude. Like, you got to wait your turn.
That's great.
Yeah.
So how can someone learn more about CheerSync, Nelson?
The best way to do it is to just try it out. So we have a free trial that's available. It's 7 days, gives you up to 5 athletes. You just go to our website, our main site, which is CheerSyncApp.com, and then you hit get started. And it gives you 7 days to try out every single feature of CheerSync, just to see if you like it. And then if there's anybody out there that's ever interested in kind of seeing it in action, shoot me an email, Nelson@CheerSyncApp.com, or sorry, Nelson@CheerSync.app. And I'll do a quick Zoom with you, and I'll show you how we use it over at OC All Stars, and hopefully sell you on it.
Awesome. Very cool. Love it.
Very good. Spell that, CheerSync, so that everybody, so all of our listeners.
CheerSync.
And C, no H.
All right. Yeah. Everybody check it out. All right, Stace, are we ready for my dad joke?
I think we might be. I think we might be ready.
This is a good one today. Someone told me to list 2 structures that hold water. And I was like, well, damn. Boom.
Oh, that's funny.
I like that one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
All in the delivery, too.
Absolutely.
I thought you delivered it well, Casey. I thought you delivered it
pretty good. So make sure to send us your favorite dad jokes so we can share them on the show and give you a shout out. You can submit them on our new website, themotusedge.com, or DM on social media at Join Motus. And we're going to take a second and tell you guys about CX Brands.
Get ready for an event experience that's all about you. CX Brands brings the energy with 4 unique competitions: the Cheer Expo, Cheer X, Excite, and Excel. 16 events across the country, each designed to deliver excellence from start to finish. When you think cheer events, think CX Brands. Find your event now at thecxbrands.com. That's THECXBRANDS.com. Experience excellence. Experience CX Brands.
All right, guys, I think we are ready for some rapid fire questions, or not so rapid as these turned out, because we got to stop and talk about them. So, Nelson, you ready for some rapid fire?
I am ready.
All right, roller coaster or Ferris wheel?
Ooh, Ferris wheel.
Interesting. Toilet paper, over or under?
It has to be over.
Same.
I think you might be slightly psychotic if it's under.
Agreed.
That's not even something like, first of all, see, this is why these aren't rapid fire, because I've got to stop. So I have gotten rid of all the toilet paper holders in my house. I don't have them anymore because the kids used to rip them off the wall, and it was constantly repairing sheetrock or something like that. So we remodeled a couple years ago, and I was like, do not hang one of those in my house. So we either have a thing that the toilet paper just sits in. However, prior to that, I was a guy, and I changed some toilet paper rolls from time to time. Not something I ever even paid attention to. Just whichever side it was on is the way it went in. So it might be over, it might be under. So
you might fall in that psychotic group then, I think, because it most definitely needs to be over. So
All right.
if you're
like
listening, you should comment over or under.
If you're listening, get rid of those things and just have it sitting there.
It's a good point, actually, now that you mention it. I'm like, I think I need to do that too, because it's dangling off my kid's bathroom wall as we speak. Like, what do they do in there? I don't understand.
No,
Anyway.
My kids would literally like try to stand on them or something to get up on a shelf. And like, yeah, it's like, we're never fixing one of those again. All right, moving on. Sneeze confetti or hiccup bubbles?
Oh, I'm all about a party, so let's sneeze confetti.
I feel like that might burn a little bit. So. Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes all day long.
Totally agree.
I love Cracker Barrel's pancakes. They're so yummy.
My friend loves that. He's like, these are the best pancakes in the world. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can take you to some better place. Have you guys seen like the Japanese pancakes that are fluffy? They're really big.
I have not.
I see them on TikTok. I've never had one. Nelson, have you ever had them?
I have not. It's on my list though, for sure.
They look delicious. So you got to check those out, Stacy. They're on.
All right.
They're on TikTok. And
Japanese fluffy pancakes. Got it.
They're like 2 inches thick. So
making a note.
All right, Nelson, we got a question for you. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Any historical figure. I think it would have to be, for me, it would have to be a sports figure. And the first name that pops in my head is Babe Ruth. I'm a big baseball fan, and I would just love to know what the era was like back then.
That'd be very cool. That'd be a cool dinner.
It would be a cool dinner. And that's an answer we've never had before. So there you go.
All right. Cool. So who's your team? The Dodgers?
No. I know I'm in Southern California, but I was born in Northern California. So I am a Giants fan through and through. And I've got a fun, since we're talking about baseball, a fun story that relates to the gym. I'm a huge Giants fan. And one of my favorite players is an old pitcher named Rob Nen. And I remember it was either my first or second year when I was down here at OC All-Stars. And I came into the gym and the coaches were talking about how there was this new kid in the gym and her dad was a baseball player. And one of the coaches, she goes, I can't remember his name, but the kid's last name is Nen. And my jaw dropped and I went, are you talking about Rob Nen? With, huge Giants player. And I was a huge fan. And all my interactions with him and the family, I tried not to be kind of fanboy with him and just try to be normal. Never mentioned that I was a huge Giants fan. And after a couple of years, word got to them that I was a huge Giants fan. And for my birthday one year, he gifted me his game day jersey from his 300th save. Wow. And the funny thing is that he had celebrated that night and everything. His wife washed the jersey before they gave it to me. And I thought, I would have been perfect to keep it the way.
You're like, give me the sweaty version.
I want it all. But so cool story. And Rob Nen, I don't know if he's ever going to listen to this, but he is one of the nicest guys in the entire world. So
that is so cool. What a cool story.
Cool. That's a really cool story. So
awesome. All right. Well, we have a question from one of our listeners today. It says, hi, this is Jason from Missouri. For new gym owners, what's one mistake people tend to make early on that ends up creating bigger issues later, especially when it comes to team placement or growth? I would say leaving kids off the list is a pretty big mistake, seeing how we've all done it. It's terrible.
I think for me, when I was a first year gym owner, the mistake I made was putting kids on a level that they really shouldn't have been on because I was worried about losing them. And so I wanted to make sure that they were happy. And unfortunately, even if they throughout the season were able to reach some of the skills that they needed for that level, the expectation was always, okay, well, I'm going to be up another level next year. Even if I don't have my skills, I'm ready for the next level because that's what happened this year.
Yeah, I think that is such a common mistake in the gym business, because we get a lot of pressure from parents and they want their kids to level up. And that is a thing to understand. People want to level up for the most part. But, would you rather make them happy for one day at Tryouts, or would you rather set them up for a year of success? So that is something.
Well, I think it's important too for our gym owner listeners that, once you go down that path and you kind of get in the habit of leveling your kids in a place where they shouldn't be, it then becomes extraordinarily that much more difficult to correct that, because now you're trying to put everybody back in the right place, and they're not happy with that either, and you kind of maybe start losing them to a competitor. So it's better to start kind of harder on the front end than to have to try to correct where you've been a little too easy to begin with.
That's a great point. I was speaking with a gym owner, and this was a couple years ago, but she had taken over she had bought out a gym, and that was a thing that she wanted to fix. She wanted to make her teams more competitive, and we had that discussion, and it was like, listen, the customers of that program are used to this, and they're used to asking sort of, or demanding, or telling you what level they were going to be on, or telling the owner before. And I was like, I do agree that you need to change that, but understand it's going to take 3 years to do it.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to weather the storm. And I don't know that it's taken a full 3 years, but I remember her after the first season, like calling me and upset in tears. And they were down, they were down a significant amount of kids that didn't hang out because of that. And it wasn't so significant. It wasn't going to put them out of business, but it was upsetting to her. And, I just told her, you got to weather the storm. You're doing the right thing. Hopefully the teams will be a little more competitive this year. And then by year 2, and they were, but by year 2, that's when they were far more competitive, and then people started to get it. And then, by year 3, they're clicking along.
They're coming back.
Yeah. So
I was just going to say, and I know it from experience. I've made the mistake. That's why I say it. So, and obviously you've seen it also, Casey.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So take the advice.
I got a community win for us. So here's from one of our listeners. After listening to the MotUS Edge episode 15 about taking calculated risk in business, I realized that I've been sitting on a decision for over a year, waiting for it to feel 100% safe. The truth is, it never did. But the episode challenged me to stop waiting for perfect conditions and start trusting the work that we'd already put in. So we made the call, added a new program we believed in, and fully committed to it. It was uncomfortable at first, and there were plenty of doubts. But after a few months, we're seeing growth, new athletes walking through the door, and a renewed energy in our gym. It wasn't about being fearless. It was about being ready enough to move. And that's from a gym owner. Very cool.
It's very cool. I think episode 15, if I remember, is Sierra, and she was talking about her business that she started, her consulting business.
Yeah.
That
makes me think about having kids. Like a lot of people, I'm not going to have kids until I have enough money. Well, you're never going to have kids if you're waiting on that. So.
Or I'm not going to have kids until I'm ready. That's not going to happen either, really. Just,
right.
You just need to have kids.
Absolutely. So.
Oh, too funny.
Anyway, we will be hosting this podcast live from the Expo Grand Finale in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We're also getting from fresh insight from parents and coaches, so be sure to tune in on April 22nd when that episode airs. We just did the same thing in Nashville, and it was awesome. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the event. So,
yeah, it was super fun. Nelson, I don't know if you have seen that one yet, but it was a really cool. Casey and I recorded outside in the parent pavilion, just kind of in front of everything that was going on. And we recorded our podcast. Lucky, the mascot, came and crashed the podcast. That was pretty funny. Yeah, it was good. It was good times. Okay, well, we have a review Running a gym can feel isolating sometimes, but the MotUS Edge podcast reminds me I'm not the only one fighting it out as I go. The conversations are real, the advice is actionable, and it's helped me step back and lead my program with more intention instead of just reacting all the time. It's become a part of my weekly reset. And that's from an all-star program director who listens to the podcast, which I think is really great because it does help to know that you're not alone. Like, we've all been through the same craziness. We've all lost the packets under the couch during team selection.
We're on different sides of the country and we have the same types of stories.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing? That is something that, I hear all the time, and people are like, or you hear people like, well, you guys wouldn't understand at Stingrays. Like, oh, we do. That exact same thing happens to us, maybe more, and that is the thing. We're all in this together. We're all dealing with many of the same challenges. And, Stacy said something, alluded to it earlier. It doesn't matter if you have 50 kids or 500 kids or 1,000 kids. There are many of the same challenges that we're going through. So I will tell you that when we work through tryouts at Stingrays, there are a lot of kids, and that does help in building some teams. But then when you get down to the lower level teams and you get down to that final stack and trying to place kids, it's extremely difficult. So, it's difficult in every gym in the country, but it's imperative that we do it right for the kids.
Everybody has unhappy parents, unhappy staff. Everybody has happy staff and happy parents too. But I'm just saying, like, everybody's toilets clog. Everybody's got sweatshirts, flushed down their toilets. Everybody's had, mice in the gym. I don't know, whatever. Like, you name it, we've all had it, I'm sure. And if you haven't, it's coming. So just be ready when it happens.
Absolutely.
And know that someone else out there has already been through it. I assure you. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nelson, for hopping on today. We really appreciate having you.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks for getting up at the crack of dawn out on the West Coast. So
yes. For sure. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the MotUS Edge. Check out our video shorts, like, and comment. We love to hear from you. Give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Join MotUS, or check us out on LinkedIn and TikTok at the MotUS Edge. Also, be sure to check out our amazing new website, themotusedge.com. Follow our show wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you like what we're doing and you want to hear more, leave us a comment and tell all of your friends. And hey, if you're a gym owner, join the movement today and sign up for MotUS. Thank you so much for listening. We're excited for you to have the MotUS Edge.
Thank you for listening to the MotUS Edge. We hope you had a blast. Join us next week for more on business, leadership, and motivation. Subscribe and follow the show where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our newsletter at joinmotus.com. The MotUS Edge podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.